Hi, welcome to Morning Market Call. I'm Jeff Butler, and today with me I have Bo Siles. Bo works for a nonprofit called Unitas, and today we'd like to talk to Bo a little bit about what his firm does and something called social venture. So Bo, talk to us a little bit about Unitas and what the real intent of social impact, social entrepreneurship, these things that we hear a lot about, especially now at BYU during this time of this social venture competition.
No, yeah, definitely. Unitas was a nonprofit formed about 10 years ago by some forward-thinking folks who are pretty tied to BYU and some other organizations. And Unitas was initially formed to really show that microfinance banks throughout the world could be pretty scalable and reach millions of people. Back when they got into the microfinance accelerator model, the biggest concern was that there were a lot of pretty good microfinance banks throughout the world, but they were just reaching, about 10 to 20,000 clients at a time. So the idea was, how do we actually help those microfinance banks scale? And this was a long time before I was involved. But we've actually now taken a new approach. About 6 to 7 months ago, the board of Unitas decided to take a new direction and really work in what we're considering to be the livelihood development space. So as you look at industries through the developing world where you have a large portion of the poor who are working in them, we believe there's ways that you can invest into new types of business models and new types of companies that will actually help to what we consider to be ungame the system against the poor. So for so long, a lot of the value's been kind of more up at the processing and sales and marketing into the developed markets, but you have a large contingency of people who are down at the bottom who are doing a tremendous amount of hard work and who aren't really sharing in the upside of the value that they're creating for society.
Interesting. So I know a lot of people have maybe a misconception when they think of social entrepreneurship that it's very much a philanthropic thing, but it sounds like Unitas is trying to help establish the fact that it is a viable investment option and even setting it as a specific asset class.
Yeah, I think the way that we look at the world is saying there's a lot of different ways with dealing with different problems. Some of them require more philanthropic solutions, where basically you would go in with relief and aid. Yeah. You can't really create some organizations that are there for super long periods of time when you're dealing with something like earthquake recovery or a large natural disaster. But when it comes to actually helping to develop economies, we believe that there's a lot of opportunities in the developing world to really show that the poor can be part of the solution, as opposed to just marketing products and services to the poor. How do you create value by using the poor as the valuable assets that they are to share in the upside? Yeah. Just as you and I would pretty much have a problem if we felt people were exploiting us, we're trying to do the same thing and show that you can invest into businesses that not only provide goods and services to the poor, but also include the poor into creating value for society, and then actually help them to what we consider to be increase their livelihood. So we're looking at a lot of projects that either increase the incomes of the poor by 50 to 300%, or also create new jobs without having to displace people in kind of the traditional way of sending folks to work in factories, taking them out of the rural areas. So we're looking at things like agricultural verticals, which a lot of much smarter people than us have been working in for a long time. We're looking at fishing verticals that exist in some countries such as Indonesia and India. We're looking at things like micro-franchising and new innovative SME financing or small and medium enterprise financing that can be done in different ways, and really trying to back new business models from an early stage to have a demonstration effect in markets to bring more capital into markets and to invest in more companies like that.
Right. So you mentioned examples of the different ways that firms like yours are getting involved. Can you share an experience, maybe a current project that you guys are working on that's had some impact?
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that I can share, it's still getting off the ground. This is actually over in Indonesia, really working a lot in the fishing space. And to kind of lay a little bit of background, fishermen in Indonesia tend to be the least well-paid people. Okay. They work tremendous hours under pretty rough conditions, to the point where when I just got back from a trip over there, and to learn that people are really out hauling in, 200 to 300 pound tuna by using fishing line that they just pull in with their hands, and they spend 4 or 5 days out at sea. And then at the end, if you look at the market sales price for that tuna, let's just say it's $6, you would then say that 1.4 cents of that actually gets down to the poor. So you look at it on that basis, the current fishing industry is basically the end market value. They're deriving about 0.04% of the end market price.
That's incredible.
So what we're trying to do is invest into some different parts of the supply chain and the value chain that will help drive more of that income to the poor. And there's a really good set of regulations and things like that around sustainable fishing and kind of market demand for sustainable fish in European and US markets that are helping to really make it so that the small fishermen need to be a very, very key component in providing a solution to this.
Excellent. So all this sounds very interesting. And I'm sure there's people out there, students here and at other universities, who would be interested in getting involved in this type of activity. Can you describe maybe some of the opportunities, specifically here in Utah, that would allow students to start getting their feet wet with social investing?
Yeah, I think to begin with, right here at BYU with the Ballard Center, the Ballard Center has a new impact investing initiative, which we're really trying to help provide different types of opportunities, and one of them being something called the University Impact Fund. And University Impact Fund is based on a model that was put together about 10 years ago by Jeff Woolley and Jim Sorensen and a couple others here in Utah to really provide an experiential process of learning about venture capital and private equity. So about 1.5 years ago, what the group decided is, hey, let's move this into the impact investing space and provide that same sort of opportunity. And what University Impact Fund does now, and it's actually supported by the Ballard Center, is to provide students with the opportunity to work with foundations, other impact investment firms such as ourselves. They also work quite a bit with other groups like Elevar Equity, which is kind of a large microfinance investor, and some other different groups to actually work on deals that they're actually doing at the current time. So we've worked in our work at Unitas with University Impact Fund on a couple due diligence projects, and the thing that's great is the students have an incredible time doing it. They learn about some things that I don't think they ever thought they were going to learn about, and they put out a work product that's very, very useful for what we're doing. So they get a firsthand look at what's really going on, to the point where at University Venture Fund, students tend to get some of the best job offers as undergrads as they come out of that. And what we're hoping is that University Impact Fund will breed what we consider to be the next generation of impact investors and social entrepreneurs who then, coming out of school, pretty much already understand things.
Right.
Because a lot of the feedback that we get from a lot of different groups is we'd love to hire some students at a university that know how to do this sort of stuff, but there's just no one who has really had that experience coming out as an undergrad.
Right.
So it really puts them kind of on a higher footing when they leave
awesome.
school.
Yeah. So yeah, the Ballard Center I think is a great resource, and you mentioned some others. It's very exciting. I think it's something that's new and upcoming, and I think something that certainly provides the individual with an opportunity to not only create a livelihood for themselves, but to make a significant difference in other people's lives as well. So that's excellent. Thanks so much, Bo, for coming on today and being on the show. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Morning Market Call.
Morning Market Call is brought to you by the Marriott School of Management in cooperation with the Brigham Young University Department of Communications. MMC is made possible by generous donations from Larry Tasjan and Gary Williams. This show was produced by Jeff Butler, David Wood, and Doug Mumford, with line producing by Beth Grimmett. For more information, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook.